What's up, everybody, and welcome to a sad edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. Um, what is there to say about this game other than it? We just got beat up by an undermanned Raptors team. Uh, they are young, athletic, long, deflect passes. Um, they just completely took us out of our game. It was brutal. So yeah, the score was 113-104. The only one that I thought really showed any life tonight at all was RJ Barrett. Um, I'd like to say more positive things than that, but it was very, very ugly. Uh, Randall's looking more like 2019 Randall than he's looking like 2020 Randall. I don't know if it's because he's got the extra baby at home, but he's takes these matchups with players personally, and he lets them get in his head, and he just a couple bad minutes at the end of the second quarter just completely shifted this momentum of this game, and it really went all downhill from there. I took the dog out on a walk at halftime, thinking that I would get back in time. Next thing I know, I checked the score on the phone, and apparently the game was completely different.
One, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you just saw it down the stretch of this game. Just turnovers after deflected passes, after offensive rebounds. This awful, awful, awful stuff. And I also have the Giants game on in the background, and I need to make sure that
I,
Patrick Mahomes does
uh,
not get 30 fantasy points, so I can still win my fantasy football game. So there could be at least a little silver lining tonight. So Moo, tell me, why don't you give us a little bit of your thoughts on this brutal loss?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say. I could guess at what's going on with Randall. I think he's still trying too hard to make up for Atlanta in the playoffs, so he's forcing things. So I don't think it's you know bad habits per se. It's just him trying to still do too much and show everybody that what Atlanta was a fluke. But the irony is that more he plays like this, the more Atlanta's gonna pop to mind. So I don't know. They don't really have any choice, right? He's still their number one guy. So they're with them, right? They have to live with them, and hopefully things can be righted out. I think what's interesting was there was a period where Randall was made another dumb play or move, and they panned over to Tibbs. And normally Tibbs has that really annoyed, pissed off look.
Yeah.
He didn't have that when Randall. I know if it was anybody else, that look would have been a pissed off look. It was more like, yeah, oh, okay. So I don't know if I don't want to say Tibbs is enabling him, um, but obviously I'm under the belief that nobody does anything right consistently without Tibbs being okay with it. So I don't know. It's concerning. But I think the bigger concern is, they're 6-2,
Yeah. 5-2, I
5-2.
believe, right?
Yep,
I mean,
I do.
still a great record, but there's some troubling signs. And if you project out to the playoffs, right? Because everything's about the playoffs. I'm not so sure that they would be able to get much farther, this team, than last year's team. And
I think it depends on matchup, but yeah,
yeah,
if someone's young, well, I think that their length was really what just bothered us. Like,
they're active, right? Active,
yeah,
aggressive, kind of like with the Hawks,
yeah.
right?
I mean, we were just it was just like completely out hustled. Like I said in the pre show, I mean, they got to every 50-50 ball. Uh, they stripped a bunch of people. Um, yeah, I mean, the Knicks had like 16 turnovers tonight. You're just not going to win many games turning the ball over that much. They won the steal battle as well. They had 12 steals compared to our three. We're not getting out. When a team is so elite at their half court defense, being able to run would help a little bit. And no one really was able to get out
That's
in
that,
transition or anything.
and that kind of hits it's kind of it's the same problem they had last year, but last year was a lot more glaring. right? They didn't
Yeah.
have anybody that can actually, when the defense gets tough, right, and it cuts off your passing lanes, and it, you need someone that can say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to put the ball on the floor and boom, I buy people,
Yeah.
right? Um, RJ Barrett can't be your best guy at that. I mean, he's doing great. So don't get me wrong. The last few games he's been great, but he can't be it if you're planning to go deep.
Yeah.
Um, Walker, he's had 19, 18, whatever, the high double digits scoring in the last 3 games, not including tonight. But he's still not, the hope is there's more, but he's still
I
not
mean,
that
maybe
type.
if it was like 4 years ago
It was four
and
years
it was
ago.
Kemba, yeah,
Right,
if it was 4 years
right,
ago, you could easily rely on Kemba to be that guy.
right,
And
right.
you know, because that was what was so great about the last game with RJ going off against the Pelicans was is that Randall kind of like fell into that Green role where he, got like 9 shots or whatever, but I mean his playmaking was top notch. You could just see that his body language tonight was like it brought the whole team down. Like
Yeah.
he just seemed to not care, and
But
that happened. Go
how
ahead.
much of that is the other guys kind of not nobody really saying, you know what, um, you're off or you've been pressing. Let me try to take things over a little bit and do a little bit more. I think that I just get the sense that the other guys are still kind of you know deferring to Randall way too much. I don't know if that's a Tibbs thing or it's just guys not able or not wanting to step on toes. I don't know what's going on. And I hope it's not something that is, I don't want to use the word insidious, but something, that we keep hearing people talking about the dynamics and the chemistry, everything being great. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
So it's concerning, even with the
Well,
5-2 work. Yeah.
The thing I've noticed, and it's been in multiple games, where it's like we get out to these big leads in the first half, and then that it's either being like there's an adjustment made by the other team, but or we just don't come out with as much energy in the second half, and I think that's been a huge detriment. Tonight it happened a little bit earlier. It didn't happen at halftime. It happened, with three
Yeah.
minutes left
Right.
in the in the second quarter.
Right.
I got a good stat here from Ian Begley. Let me pull it up real quick. So Toronto took 23 more shots over the final 3 quarters of today's game. That's a lot.
Well, yeah.
That's a lot more shots. That's especially in what ended up being an 11-point game. Yeah, 11,
Yeah.
11 or
That
no,
was
no,
it.
no, 9 point game. My math was bad. I apologize.
That was basically it. That was the game.
Yeah, that was it. Um, we also missed six free throws tonight. 2 of them being RJ, and I feel like it's mean to criticize RJ because he's the only guy that really showed up today. But I need you to be back at over 70% on your free throws. Like he's such a lethal 3-point shooter that I feel like you can't really be shooting below 70% from the line. That's not okay.
So he's taking a lot more to the basket, and he's the last few games he's scoring more. He's gonna
Yeah,
get fouled, and he's got to hit those things.
yeah, and I think the big concern too with Randall is that he made a killing in the range last year, and I don't know if it's just because of the new offense and he's just taking more threes, but I just feel like he's not really attacking and getting to those spots anymore. I know it's like we're more talented and we don't need him to do those things, but he just doesn't look the same. He doesn't look as comfortable.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. The hope is that everybody's still trying to get used to each other.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean he's taking the ball to the basket a few times. But yeah, you're right. The mid range is it kind of almost like disappeared. Right? It's a lot of threes, and I think part of the problem is maybe the Knicks are falling too much in love with the threes. You
yeah.
you still have to mix it up, right? Because you can't expect to shoot your way to a championship or to a deep playoff run.
I mean,
With
it only works. It only works when you have the cream of the crop of shooters.
shooters, yeah, like the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not this team. So
No, not at all.
right, so they need to be able to attack. So when defenses take away your, your main thing, your 3-pointer, what are you gonna do? Right? The Raptors basically sent all their guys out to bother shooters, right? Anybody on the perimeter, they had the guys. So they were saying to the Knicks, we're taking your 3-pointers out. We're not giving you any easy looks. So what else can you do? And the Knicks' answer was pretty much nothing.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing too, because like you saw down the stretch that like they had a couple 3-pointers blocked.
Mhm.
I think Rose had one. I think Burks
Right,
had one.
right.
There's probably one or two more, and it's like you got to be able to counter those closeouts. You got to attack them. It's like I know we're down by a lot, but like you don't. There was a lot of time left when those shots were taken.
Oh, the Knicks were shook. They looked like they were, just out of
Yeah,
it.
they were just overwhelmed. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there was a possession. There was like 3 turnovers in a row in like the fourth quarter at some point. There was definitely two. I don't know about. I felt like there was three, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just they were just completely overmatched and just didn't know what to do.
And they had no answers. There's no one on that roster that they could throw in, bring in anything that
Yeah,
had any answer.
and it, it
Um,
was it was weird too. It's like you're getting beat by like size and length, and then Tibbs just stuck with IQ. Like his playmaking was good. He did end up having 5 assists, but like he was 1 for 6. Like I feel like you need a little bit more size
yeah,
there.
I mean that's the problem. I think we talked about it. One of the things that the Knicks seem to lack is length and on the wings, right? Length, athleticism, guys that can, either defend, challenge shots, or something, put the ball on the floor a little bit. Um, and the Raptors, they showed what those types of guys look like, and it works. You have to
Yeah.
you have to give Nurse and the Raptors a lot of credit. He's doing a great job with that team. Um, you're
And,
right,
and
Fred.
OG Anunoby, I mean,
Wow, yeah,
his energy's infectious. I mean, he was all over the court,
yeah. And
deflecting passes, offensive rebounds.
the scary thing is you got Scotty Barnes there, as well, and they're basically set up to be like bookend, you know,
Yeah,
super wing, whatever, super long athletic guys that can score and do all sorts of things. I mean,
yeah.
that's a pretty, impressive.
It's a nice little foundation, and
Yeah,
Fred VanVleet looks a lot better than he did last year. Um,
yeah,
he's I feel like he's more comfortable in his role, and his playmaking was top notch. I mean, he just got into the paint and then he just dumped it off to they're 7-footers that can hit those little mid range jump shots. That's like the huge difference between like Mitch and your Bouchard or who else was the other guy that got a decent amount of minutes.
Ken
Um,
Birch.
yeah, Birch. Yeah.
Also, it's Boucher, not Bouchard. Come on.
Oh,
sure.
oops.
No.
Yeah, I should have known Bobby Boucher.
Um,
Oopsies. Yeah, and I mean, who's the white guy? That white guy was punking Randall a little bit too.
Michalik.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
actually a very good player.
yeah,
Um,
he had 5 assists
y-
tonight, 5 of 7 from the field, 15 points. Oh man, yeah, it was just ugly. Yeah, just that like we just allowed everyone to get into the paint, and then he just flipped it off to some big and who hit a little 10, 15 foot jump shot. It was like very reliable offense for them. Then OG was hitting some crazy stuff.
yeah, yep. I mean,
Um,
I think at this point, I don't know. What do you guys want to? I'm not. Just this game left a really bad vibe. Feeling. As far as carrying it forward. Hopefully things can change. But this is a scary game to watch. As far as hoping that things can you know be different this year. I don't know.
yeah.
It's
I mean, again, I just don't think I don't think we need to necessarily overreact on a game that they came out flat.
yeah,
Like momentum shifted and they could not punch back. Um, but that's a problem when you do have a lot of vets and you collapse like this over and over and over again at halftime. Um, Tibbs is going to have to make some sort of adjustments because whatever's happening at halftime is just not working. And if that's just because we're shooting a ton of threes and then we go cold for a little bit. Maybe we need to find. I mean, I saw the synergy stats before were horrible in the post, but I was just thinking it was like maybe that's like give some Randall some post ups 15 feet away, see if like that can trigger him or like set him back in his ways from last year because he outside of the Boston game, I feel like he has not been that good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Something's not still. Right? That's what happens when you rely on threes, right? You live by the three, die by the three.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything else when the threes aren't falling, I mean, you get a game like tonight.
And you know
Moo
what?
sounds like such an old man there. Oh, it's
Yeah,
these kids these days with their
damn it.
3-point shots ruining the
3 point
game.
shots. Yeah,
that was a Charles Barkleyism, I believe. But the funny thing is we didn't even shoot that poorly. I mean, overall for the game, we shot 42% from three, hit 16 of them. But they held us to.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in
po-
here and say I don't think the problem was our shooting. The problem was turnovers and not getting rebounds,
Yeah.
creating extra possessions. The shooting, the offense was more or less fine. It was also the defense that killed us more than anything.
both sides, right? Their defense and our defense.
Yeah, I mean 47 points and a half isn't that terrible, but when you give up 60 on the other end, yeah, I'm looking at the halftime,
Yeah,
the second half stats. Yeah, we ended up shooting 31% from three. Now that's I don't know if this is an easy thing to look up for you, Kyle, because I'm gonna have to keep talking. But I wonder what we're shooting from three in second half games.
I can look that up. Just give me a minute.
Okay, yeah, no rush, no rush. Yeah, maybe just because we're old, we got a bunch of old people that we're running out of
some
energy at
energy.
halftime.
Need some guys that can attack. Right? It's still
Yeah,
at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's the game is not very complicated. You still need some bona fide guy that can attack and carry the load. That when you play teams like this, that you put pressure on them, right? The Knicks really didn't put a whole lot of pressure on this defense.
yeah.
They
And
so
also too, like again, when you're getting out hustled, I mean, someone needs to be able to rebound the basketball. Like, let's see how many offensive rebounds we gave up. 13. That doesn't seem. Yeah. So they pretty much doubled our offensive rebounds.
they got a lot of guys that can jump and grab and go after rebounds. It was always like Mitch and like three other guys going for every rebound, right? So
yeah, and that comes back to our guards. I mean, RJ had 6 rebounds, Julius had 9, but none of them on the offensive end, and our guards had 3 rebounds apiece. And those long rebounds are the killers because they always turn into 3-point shots.
All right,
Yep.
you want to hear it?
Yep.
Sure.
So in the second half of games, we are shooting as a team 36%, and that includes tonight. But in the first half of games, we're shooting 46%. So it's a really big drop off. We're still pretty decent at it. Like 36% is, I know in past years that's
slightly
been around
below
league average. So
yeah,
we're not we don't turn to a pumpkin at the end of the night. But what's interesting is we also take around the same amount. Those 19.4 threes in the first half, 19.6 in the second.
Yeah.
And by scoring, we average 59 points in the first half and 53 in the second half. So I'd say there is a bit of a drop off there, like especially on 3-point shooting, but you look at it overall, and it's really not.
I think
it's really
you
more
can get away. You can get away with being average defensively or like slightly below average defensively, which I think we are. When you're shooting 46% from three, but when you come back and you're like a little, league average or slightly below average, all of a sudden that you get exposed. And that's probably what we're seeing in these second halves. It's like we're like being okay at shooting, but the defense has taken a substantial step back.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? What do you think is the cause of that? Is it because it's an older team and you get tired in the second half, or do you think it's a mental thing where the Knicks kind of just ease off? And when you start easing off and relaxing, you're kind of shooting flat, and So what do you
I
guys
think
think?
I think it's I think it's them taking the foot off the gas. I feel like again you see Julius's body language where he's like not taking things seriously a few times, and I think then a coach at halftime really just needs to say it's just like, oh, you guys need to close out harder, and all of a sudden these things snowball and they're like losing giant leads.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really bad. You guys wanna know what the defensive rating looks like? So
Yeah.
in the first half of games, our defensive rating is 100.6, which is pretty good, and our offensive rating is 118, which is really good.
Yeah.
Then in the second halves, our offensive rating is 109, which is still pretty good, but a step back. But our defensive rating is 119. Just so for anyone
Jeez.
who doesn't know, you want your offensive rating to be higher and you want your defensive rating to be lower. Just so we're all clear on that point.
Mhm.
So we go
Thank you,
from
Kyle.
yeah. Let me look it up real quick because I'm pretty sure that I can tell you exactly where that would stand. So in the first half of games, at 100 defense rating, that would be sixth in the league right now. Uh, so we were pretty good in the first halves, but then 119 is by far the worst in the league. So we go from
Yeah.
a pretty good defense to the worst in the league overnight, or I'm in an instant in the half.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's there. There it is. Yeah. uh,
Just kind
I
of
suppose I suppose that can be my fun fact for tonight.
that could be
Yeah.
definitely. But then the question is how of any coach how Tibbs can allow this type of a thing. So which kind of goes back, is it just they don't have the gas to keep the first half pace up and running, and Tibbs knows that. Um, I don't know. It
I think it's just
they don't
it
have
could be
people.
different. It could be. Yeah. I just don't think they have the personnel. I think that's what we're seeing here is that like having Bullock and RJ on the wings last year was highly effective, and I think you would probably have done a little bit better against Trent and OG Anunoby today. Um, but again, it's like it's always different people that are leading these comebacks, and like we keep playing down to these competitions. Like I mean, an undermanned Pelicans team like really put it on us for a second half. I just don't know. I don't know what the answer really is.
Yeah.
Like, do we need to make a trade? Would Noel being back helped? I mean, I know there was a few minutes of Jericho Sims out there. I don't think that was like
That was
too.
off.
Yeah, I don't know if it was too detrimental to the squad, but
Now by that point, it was already a
yeah, it was out of
game set
hand.
match. Yeah, and Sims didn't really help because again he's fumbling balls. Kind of.
He was looking like Noel. He was bobbling balls all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
like yeah, and I mean, looking at the plus minus, I know it's not the most important thing in the entire universe, but I mean, Kemba Walker minus 16 again, the worst of the starters. I know he hit a few big buckets in garbage time, but
He was
you need
just
more.
slow and like lacked energy. I know the points are there. I'm just like
Yeah,
Randall, right? If you look at the stats, it
I mean,
just
it's a real good game if you just look at Randall's stats and then you see
right.
the minus 15 at the end
Sure.
there, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, and like he only had 3 turnovers, but it definitely felt like a lot more.
Oh, it was a lot more. It definitely felt like a lot more.
Yeah, it, he
But
just
but you,
needs he
you
just
know
needs to
what?
figure out how to send out good vibes and have good body language and stuff like that. 'Cause he just right now is dragging everybody down. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, and Rose too, right? Rose has been kind of like, you know,
He's had his moments where he's great, but
yeah,
yeah, tonight not so much. He looked old and slow.
right, right.
But again, that's what guys with super length do.
Mhm.
So maybe he was just honestly just taken out of his game. So yeah, I'm looking at his stats. He's 11 points on 43%, 44% from the field, 50% from three. I mean, his free throws attempted are way down.
Yeah, that's
yeah, and that's the same thing with Kemba too. I think they're both like only like really averaging like a free throw game, which is not
awful.
like how. Yeah,
you absolutely cannot have your point guards that are supposed to attack and carry your offense, right?
yeah,
Not get to the line and draw defensive pressure, any stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I think that's been more of a killer than anything Randall has been doing.
yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, we gotta. All right. What else can we really say about tonight?
Let's talk
There
about
was
the
not.
Raptors. They were a really good team. I'm really impressed. I'm really liking this team. Um,
Yeah, I really wish we got to see Scotty Barnes. He was the one I
yeah,
was looking forward
yeah,
to because
yep.
I made a big stink of not liking him coming out of the draft, and he's been the best player in the top
It's been,
five.
yeah. I think overall, if you look at all the guys, who can actually become kind of specialish, I think Barnes actually right now is that guy.
I always said there was like kind of like a little bit of Giannis in his game, and he's really shown like all of that. He wasn't a particularly good free throw shooter at all, but I mean he's got this like 8 to 10 foot, eight to like 14-foot jump shot that just seems to be automatic.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
mean he's so big that like it's real easy for him to get
he's
that
big,
off.
but he's big, he's lengthy, and he's very agile. Right, a lot of big guys they don't move well. And that limits what they can and can't do, right? So they're locked into a specific position, center, or whatever it is, right? And you can't expect them to handle the ball because they're just not coordinated. Barnes
Yeah,
is, long, athletic, and coordinated.
yeah.
Um,
God,
so,
Gary tonight, Gary Trent Jr. 4 steals,
yeah.
brutal,
Has he
brutal
always
stuff.
been this good defensively?
No, he has not been.
Okay,
He used
because
to
he's
be
taking
Yeah,
it.
he used to be really bad on defense.
Okay, he's taking
yeah,
it
yeah.
up
I guess
another
that's what
notch,
happens
right?
when you buy into a system. I mean, Nick Nurse is a damn good coach,
Yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
their development guys are just insane. I mean, OG Anunoby looks like a completely different player. I mean, he was creating in the post. He was taking people off the dribble. He was hitting off the dribble jumpers. Just like wow,
Yeah,
good
you have to.
good stuff. And
Yeah,
they have him on a pretty good deal. Like I think he's like 4 years, 72 million. And I mean, he looks like he's blossoming like
oh, man.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you play Siakam at the five because they don't really have a center, and then you can keep all three of them out on the wing. I mean, yeah, they're gonna lock. We were the best offensive team in the league coming in tonight, and they held us to 104 points. I mean, that's just impressive stuff.
I think they're definitely gonna, like you said, they need to move him because in the past few years when he's been in there, he's been kind of looking like Randall but worse, right?
Yeah,
Just trying to dominate and do things that he just really shouldn't be doing, and it's just dragging the rest of the guys down. They look better without him, so I
yeah,
would not be surprised if they tried it. The question is, would anybody trade for him? Right? So
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, he certainly he had his moment in the sun. You know, like he played that second fiddle to Kawhi on the championship run, and yeah, he's just never has been as good again.
right,
It just shows like when you take somebody out of the role that they're comfortable in, that everything can
right,
change,
exactly.
and that seems to be what's going on with Randall. Is that he was very comfortable like dominating in like the mid to low post, and now that you're asking him, I mean, yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe just run some more pick and roll for him or something. Jeez, like I don't know.
They don't do enough of that, enough pick and rolls. If you look at the Raptors, right, and the Knicks, it's like I don't know. They really don't. Right. It's other than Mitch trying to set a pick, kind of like very mechanically and
Yeah,
obviously. They just really don't do much of that.
yeah. RJ seems to be the only one that's just like actually
Mm,
slashing. You know,
right.
like
Right.
Randall's like kind of like dancing around the perimeter. He doesn't really attack the rim. I mean, Rose on occasion does, but like I don't think you can rely on him. And he looked tired. He looked exhausted tonight. Come on, Giants, stop Patrick Mahomes. And Tyreek Hill's wide open. Oh man. The Giants are up for anyone that's listening in 17-14, which is a little bit, more exciting than what happened in our Knicks game right now, Um, yeah, I just that we've like gone full like Daryl Morey and like we're just like chucking threes and I think it's gotten into at least Randall's head that because like all his points really in the first quarter came off of 3-point shots.
Yeah, it's
And I
just
mean, once he hit that one with the bank, you knew that he was never going to hit a three ever again after that one.
yeah, no, I definitely too many threes, not mixing it up. Hope again, hoping that because they looked good when they were attacking earlier, the first couple of games, right, with Fournier doing a lot of stuff. Now it's just kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
let's just pass it around for a three, or let's run up the court and get a three, and
Well, also the other thing I haven't really been enjoying is that like Randall's been taking the ball up on the break, and he just doesn't run.
Can I say something? I noticed something today when I was watching him. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Whenever Randall gets the ball and starts to bring it up, he always looks down like for an instant. I don't know what that is. It's like he's like trying to take a breath or something. But what ends up happening is because even in that split second that he looks down, he misses any fast break opportunities because he's not looking up. And you watch the other guys, the point guards, they don't do that. They catch the ball and they're looking down court. That's how you get guys open. That's how RJ almost made that really sick lob to Obi. Randall doesn't do that because for some reason, I don't know what it is. He might be like looking down to make sure he gets his first dribble right so he doesn't lose the ball. I don't know what it is, but he does that, and that really kills a lot of transition.
Yeah, I've always been because like that's how I remembered Randall even like before he came to New York is that him like grabbing and going on breaks, like kind of like what RJ does, where he would just like grab the ball and take on like three people and for a layup because he was bigger and stronger than them, than all the point guards and wings that usually got back. He just doesn't seem to run anymore, and I don't know if he's conserving himself because he has to create so much in the half court or whatnot. But if he's gonna want to bring the ball up, he's got to run.
he shouldn't be bringing the ball up is the problem.
Yeah, because again, I think the synergy stats that one of the Raptors fans posted in our game forum. It said that like we're one of the better transition teams. Like I think we're like 1.3 points per possession, and it's like it makes a lot of sense for us to try to get out and take advantage of that. And obviously tonight, when you don't create a lot of turnovers or like have a bunch of steals, that's not going to happen. But you can push on missed shots. Like RJ breaks for it all the time. Ooh, sack him! Yeah! Oh my god, he fumbled!
I don't know if it's we're one of the better transition teams because I'm looking at the stats on NBA.com, which is the synergy stats, and they have us as before tonight as being slightly below average. I think we're what is that 18th in the league in terms of percentile. So I don't know. I think it was just RJ is really good in transition.
Okay. Oh, maybe that's you know what, that was the stat I saw on Twitter today about RJ creating more points per possession in transition.
Well, he's the only one that seems to be trying.
Yeah, it's him and Obi. Him and Obi are the only two that like to run, which is weird because it's like I know Rose and Kemba can get up and down the floor a little bit.
That's the thing. Can they now? Is that the problem? Right? Is this Kemba all we're getting?
Yeah. Right? So looking at it, right? For the NBA.com synergy stats, you have to have 10 possessions per play type. So there's only 6 guys that qualify for that on the Knicks. Of them, only RJ and Obi are in they're in the top 50th percentile. So RJ is 74th percentile. Obi is 98.6 percentile.
So who are the other 4?
There's Fournier, who's in the 2.1st percentile. Rose at 10.1, Quickly 30.7, and Randall at 27.7.
So Walker's didn't even qualify.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. So, so what that number is mostly based off is points per possession. So what that means in terms of what their points per possession is that every time OB gets the ball on in transition, you expect him to score 1.75 points, which is superb. RJ's at 1.3, Quickly's at 0.91. Really, anything below 1.1 points per possession is not good.
Bad.
And when you look at it on the break, it's so much more skewered. So really, anything lower than like 1.25 is bad. And then Randall coming in with 0.88.
Yeah, he's so big and so strong and so fast that you figure that every time that he would grab the ball, he would want to run.
He has a 41.2% turnover frequency in transition. 41%.
That's bad.
That's horrendous.
That's another really good stat.
That was the Hawks. Wait, how bad was he in the playoffs against the Hawks? Just kind of point of reference.
Let me just let me pull that up real quick. Here it is, playoffs. He was I don't know if you do
this is all good stuff for the post game forum as well.
Wow. So here's the stats. I have to qualify this. So in 5 games, 1.4 possessions per game. So that's 7 possessions. So not a big sample size. He scored 0 points and turned the ball over 42.9%, which would be 3 out of 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know why Randall shouldn't take the ball up.
I don't know why. This one's hilarious to me. It has him at negative 0.2 field goals made per possession. I don't know where it gets that from. But so fun fact: there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 Knicks who had transition opportunities in the playoffs last year. 9 of them have a percentile of 0. Only RJ was the only one
for that dunk.
Who was 17.5th percentile.
Yep, just because of the one dunk. Jesus.
Yeah, that is atrocious.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you don't generate turnovers. I mean, I think that's the one thing you see from our bench unit in the second quarter that you don't see when they come in after halftime. This is that like I don't know if it's like an energy dip, but they just seem to create less turnovers. And now Taj is hurt, so he's like the guy that does a lot of that damage.
Right.
All right, so I feel like we need to pick scrub of the night because I don't want to talk about this game anymore. Moo, why don't you give me scrub of the night?
Wow. I mean, I'll go with the whole team. It was just a collective effort of just rolling over and just playing dead. That second half, starting late first half. I'll go with the whole team. Nobody played well. RJ did, right? But nobody else really showed up and fought. So everyone except RJ.
All right, so I'm going to go for Raptors. I'm going to go with Precious Achiuwa.
Oh, yeah.
Another 3 to the head Melo favorite. He was 1 of 9, minus 11, the only starter on their team in negative plus minus. Just real bad stuff. And then for the Knicks, I'm going to say Derrick Rose. Him in particularly. I know he was plus 7, plus minus, but he was 2 of 8. He looked all sorts of out of sorts. Didn't really hit any shots. Had only 1 assist to 2 turnovers. Just bad stuff. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Not really. I think we hit everything. I think I put too much numbers in this. It's starting to look like a math class.
No, those are good. Those are good stats. So Randall on the break. I got to remember this. Randall on the break, 41% turnover.
It'll get real wild in a few weeks when I start putting letters into my stats.
And then our defensive rating in the second half is 119. So yeah, that's some good stuff. All right, so we got a game on Wednesday against the Indiana Pacers, who are all. I think they're finally getting Karis LeVert back. I don't know if he's back yet. They've been very underachieving, but they have a lot of like mediocre talent like us. So it should be a good challenge. Hopefully we show up and play with a little bit more effort. But tonight is a 113-104 loss to the Toronto Raptors. and we just got out hustled, out muscled, as Clyde would say. And that's pretty much about it. So I hope you liked what you listened to. This is another episode of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. Have a good night.